For over half a century, the American public has been traumatized with stories of impending doom due to the changing weather. Whether it was the great global cooling scare of the 70s, the global warming scare of the 80s and 90s, or the all-encompassing climate change scare with its ever-moving goalposts. And while Mount Kilimanjaro still has snow, the North Pole still has ice, and the glaciers at Glacier National Park not only are still there, but are actually bigger than ever. The common theme has always been, this is your fault. This is the soccer mom driving her kid to practice in an SUV's fault. This is farting cows and your love of ground beef's fault. This is the everyday, average American living their average life that is doing untold damage to Mother Earth. And yet, it's all a lie. It is a ruse to seize the means of production, to centralize power in the hands of a few, and to usher in a one-world government. Climate always changes, and man can change the climate, but it isn't the everyday American that's causing it. In fact, weather weapons are real, and they have a treaty to regulate them. According to covert geopolitics, weather warfare is not new. Weather warfare is the use of weather modification techniques such as cloud seeding for military purposes. Prior to the Geneva Convention, the United States used weather warfare in the Vietnam War under the auspices of the Air Weather Service. The United States Operation Popeye used cloud seeding over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, increasing rainfall by an estimated 30% during 1967 and 1968. The 54th Weather Reconnaissance Squadron carried out the operation using the slogan, "Make Mud, Not War," starting on March 20th, 1967, and continuing through every rainy season in Southeast Asia until 1972. Operational cloud seeding missions were flown. 3 C-130 Hercules aircraft and 2 F-4C Phantom aircraft, based at Udon Thani Royal Thai Air Force Base in Thailand, flew 2 sorties per day. The aircraft were officially on weather reconnaissance missions, and the aircraft crews, as part of their normal duty, also generated weather report data. The crews, all from the 54th Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, were rotated into the operation on a regular basis from Guam. Inside the squadron, the rain-making operations were codenamed Motorpool. The initial area of operations was the eastern half of the Laotian Panhandle. On July 11, 1967, the operational area was increased northward to around the area of the 20th parallel and included portions of far western North Vietnam. In September 1967, the Ao Sha Valley in South Vietnam was added to the operational area. Operations over North Vietnam were eliminated on April 1, 1968, concurrent with conventional bombing restrictions being put into effect. The southern region of North Vietnam was added to the operational area on September 25, 1968, and then removed on November 1st of that year, concurrent with a halt to the conventional bombing of North Vietnam. In 1972, most of northeastern Cambodia was added to the operational area. All rain-making operations ceased on July 5, 1972. Operation Popeye's goal was to increase rainfall in carefully selected areas to deny the Vietnamese enemy, namely military supply trucks, the use of roads by 1. Softening the road surfaces, 2. Causing landslides along roadways, 3. Washing out river crossings, and 4. Maintaining saturated soil conditions beyond the normal time span. With much less success, the United States also dropped salt on the airbase during the siege of Khe Sanh in an attempt to reduce the fog that hindered air operations. A research paper produced for the United States Air Force written in 1996 speculates about the future use of nanotechnology to produce artificial weather clouds of microscopic computer particles, all communicating with each other to form an intelligent fog that could be used for various purposes. And while the government claims that artificial weather technologies do not currently exist, this phrase is in absolute disagreement to the statement made by the U.S. Air Force during a budget hearing for HAARP.
Understood. Then to Dr. Walker and Mr. Schaefer then, Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility. I've mentioned that it's our understanding through the president of UAF that the plans are to move forward and demolish the facility this summer. So the question to you is that accurate? Can you explain why? And then perhaps to both you and Mr. Schaefer, is there any benefit in exploring a potential relationship with the University of Alaska to perhaps take over the HAARP?
Thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HAARP in the past. We took it over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there and have finished our work that we were interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HAARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it. And but that work has been completed. The Air Force has maintained the site for other government agencies to use for several years now. And with DARPA completing their project, that's our last government customer that we have in the site.
Working on ways to control the ionosphere. What's the ionosphere? That is the ionized part of the upper atmosphere of the Earth, about 30 miles to 600 miles above sea level. And as covert geopolitics suggests, as you can see in this U.S. congressional hearing, the Air Force is willing to abandon the existing HAARP site in Alaska, most likely because they are now using a more advanced version of the same technology. A potential idea that you have radar systems mounted on mobile platforms which could emit high-powered EM signals and can be positioned in any of the thousands of U.S. military bases to create weather disturbances on any terrestrial target. There is also speculation that by bouncing kilowatts of power off of the ionosphere can result in harmonic disruptions to tectonic plates below as the vibrations trigger a slip in the plates, which could be used as a targeted earthquake weapon or to agitate long dormant volcanoes. The weather weapon is just one big microwave radio transmitter, and it's a technology that we already have, composed of wireless broadcast systems and the right microwave frequency to produce heat on any target, in this case, the atmosphere. It's simply an FM broadcast system and a microwave oven in one device. The only difference between your favorite FM radio station and a weather weapon is the amount of power needed to push its signal into the sky. In fact, it is argued that in 2013, Typhoon Haiyan, which struck the Philippines and was one of the most powerful tropical cyclones ever recorded, was not a natural weather event, but was an attack by Barack Obama using the U.S. military sea-based X-band radar SBX-1, which set sail out of its berth in Hawaii March 23, 2013, and was deployed for geopolitical purposes, a U.S. military-controlled weapon of mass destruction, working to complement other Pacific-based U.S. weather modification systems. The purpose of this attack was to establish a permanent military base for the U.S. military within ICBM striking distance of North Korea, China, and Russia. The USS George Washington arrived in the Philippines with 5,000 Marines on board. The aircraft carrier battle group was already deployed to the region prior to Typhoon Haiyan. This mission wasn't humanitarian, it was to seize control of the country. As in Korea, Cuba, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Somalia, and Haiti, U.S. troops never leave once boots are on the ground. But it wasn't just our attack on the Philippines. Weather weapons are being used all over the world for military purposes. Geoengineeringwatch.org, which is a wealth of information on this subject, has a report from August 1996 presented to the U.S. Air Force titled Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. We're there, folks. The executive summary in the document reads, in 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focusing development of those technologies to warfighting applications. Such a capability offers the warfighter tools to shape the battle space in ways never before possible. It provides opportunities to impact operations across the full spectrum of conflict and is pertinent to all possible futures. The purpose of this paper is to outline a strategy for the use of a future weather modification system to achieve military objectives, rather than to provide a detailed technical roadmap. What would those objectives be? Well, degrade enemy forces by enhancing precipitation, flood lines of communication, decrease comfort level and morale, storm enhancement to deny operations, precipitation denial to deny fresh water and induce drought. Space weather, disrupt communications and radar, disable or destroy space assets. Fog and cloud removal, deny concealment, increase vulnerability. Furthermore, it would allow us to enhance friendly forces, precipitation avoidance, maintain and improve visibility, maintain comfort level and morale, storm modification to choose the battle space environment, space weather, improve communication reliability, intercept enemy transmissions, revitalize space assets, fog and cloud generation to increase concealment, and fog and cloud removal to maintain airfield operations. You know, I'm starting to wonder if Al Gore just cleverly capitalized on these operations in order to make the general public feel guilty about weapons of war that are being deployed globally. Layers and layers of control both internationally and locally for a true full spectrum dominance. And of course that would explain why he and Obama both have beachfront property, because they're not worried about the sea level actually rising. And in light of this, it would appear climate change is indeed man-made. In fact, it makes me wonder if there's any natural weather at all.